Life is full of challenges that can often make us feel overwhelmed and stressed. Despite our best efforts to cope, we sometimes find ourselves stuck in a cycle of suffering and discontent. Pain and suffering are inevitable aspects of the human experience. They influence our actions, shape our perspectives, and can even define our identity. At its core, suffering often stems from our emotional attachment to specific outcomes or situations, a blend of our biological instincts and societal conditioning that affects our choices, values, and aspirations. But what if the key to a more peaceful life lies in the paradoxical idea of caring less, rather than constantly striving for control? That's exactly what Taoism, the ancient Chinese philosophy, has been teaching for centuries. It offers a different lens through which we can view life's challenges, rooted in principles like balance, naturalness, and simplicity. Taoism encourages us to care less about outcomes and start living in harmony with the natural world. In this video, we'll explore the teachings of Taoism and how its principles can guide us in navigating life's ups and downs more gracefully. Before we dive in, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to help us make more future contents on ancient wisdom. In today's world, it's easy to get lost in the chaos. We're often told to push harder, aim higher, and never settle. We're part of a generation that's constantly hustling, whether it's climbing the corporate ladder, keeping up with social media, or maintaining a social life. There's always something demanding our attention. Take career pressure, for example. We're told that by a certain age, we should have a stable job, a certain amount of income, and maybe even a house. But what if you're still figuring things out? The pressure can be overwhelming, not to mention the social expectations. The number of likes on your Instagram post somehow becomes a measure of your worth. It's important to recognize that these pressures can deeply affect our mental well-being. When we're constantly in a state of comparison, whether with societal norms or our own personal benchmarks, the emotional toll can be significant. Stress becomes a frequent visitor. Anxiety lurks around the corner, and in more severe cases, even depression can make an appearance. This emotional landscape can feel like a never-ending race. Just when you think you're nearing the finish line, it shifts further away, making the pursuit of contentment seem impossible. And that's where Taoism comes into play. It offers us tools to approach these challenges in a more balanced way. One of the central principles in Taoism is called Wu Wei, which translates to effortless action. Now, the term effortless might give the impression of laziness or a lack of care, but that's far from what Wu Wei is about. Imagine skateboarding down a hill. In that moment, you're not fighting against the forces around you like gravity. Instead, you're in harmony with them. You lean into the slope, adjust your stance, and let gravity do its work. You're fully engaged, yet there's a sense of ease in your actions. This is what Wu Wei encapsulates, a state where you're doing what needs to be done, but without forcing it, without struggling against the natural order. It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and relaxation, actively participating in life's events without trying to manipulate or control them. Lao Tzu, the central figure of Taoism, once said, "Act without expectation." At first glance, this might seem like a call to lower your standards or disengage from your goals, but it's actually an invitation to live more mindfully. For example, many of us experience the search for a job. After you've polished your resume and sent out applications, there's often a tendency to constantly check for responses. Each moment without a callback can become a source of stress. But what Lao Tzu suggests is a shift in perspective. Once you've done your part, crafted a strong application, and sent it off, Step back and detach from the outcome. Let things unfold naturally, freeing yourself from the anxiety of wondering, what if? Lao Tzu also said, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you." Another Taoist principle that resonates is Ziran, often translated as naturalness or spontaneity. In today's world, the pressure to conform to societal norms can be intense, whether it's how we should look, what career we should pursue, or how we should behave. There's often a script we feel we need to follow. But Ziran invites us to pause and consider the power of authenticity. Take friendships, for instance. The most fulfilling friendships usually aren't the ones where you're putting on a facade. They're the ones where you can be your true self and still feel accepted and valued. In these relationships, there's a natural flow of give and take, understanding and empathy. This is what Ziran embodies, a state of being where you're not forcing yourself into preconceived molds, but allowing your true nature to shine. This is what can lead us to the art of caring less. In Taoist philosophy, there's an emphasis on detachment. Let's clarify what this doesn't mean. It's not about indifference or emotional withdrawal. Rather, it's about practicing emotional intelligence and discernment in our interactions and decisions. The idea isn't to remove ourselves from the experiences and challenges of life, but to engage with them in a more mindful way. It's like having a filter for your emotional energy, deciding what truly deserves your attention and what doesn't. Take, for example, a heated argument. The immediate reaction might be to dig your heels in and win the argument. But if you apply the Taoist principle of caring less, you'd pause and assess the situation. Ask yourself, is this argument really worth the emotional toll it's taking? More often than not, the answer will be no. Another situation many of us face is the stress of a looming deadline at work or school. The clock seems to tick faster, and the stress builds with every passing minute. It's tempting to consider pulling an all-nighter to meet that deadline. However, this is where the Taoist principle of caring less can serve as a guiding light. You pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that your well-being is more important than any single deadline. With this clarity, you approach the task at hand in a balanced way. You give it your best effort, but within reasonable limits for your physical and emotional health. Once you've done that, you detach from the outcome. You've done your part, and that's enough. In essence, the Taoist principle of caring less isn't about reducing the amount of care or concern you have. It's about being strategic in what you care about. It's like playing a game and making thoughtful moves that truly contribute to your well-being and peace of mind. This way, you're not tossed around by every external circumstance that comes your way. Lao Tzu once said, "By letting it go, it all gets done. The world is won by those who let it go. But when you try and try, the world is beyond the winning." A common perspective many of us hold is the idea that life should be a steady, unchanging experience, like expecting the sun to remain in the sky forever, never giving way to night. But the reality is different, isn't it? The sun sets and the moon takes its place. This cycle of day and night is a simple yet powerful reminder that change is the only constant. It's a lesson Taoism has been teaching for centuries through the concept of yin and yang. This principle helps us understand that life isn't a static picture. It's a dynamic movie filled with shifting scenes. Just as day transitions into night, our lives alternate between cycles of joy and sorrow, activity and rest. Take the gym as an example. When you're there, it's not just about lifting weights and pushing your body to its limits. That's the yang part, the active, forceful energy. But there's also the yin aspect, the need for rest and recovery after a strenuous workout. You don't just go back to the weights immediately. You cool down, stretch, and give your muscles time to rebuild. It's this balanced approach that's crucial for your overall well-being. The concept of yin and yang complements the idea of caring less. It offers a balanced lens through which to view life's inevitable changes. It reminds us that change isn't something to resist. It's a natural phenomenon to embrace. By embracing this, we can make the journey of life a little less daunting. Lao Tzu once said, "Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like." When we stop resisting life's natural cycles and start flowing with them, it's like taking a heavy backpack off our shoulders. We move through challenges with a lighter step, and our decision-making becomes more intuitive and less forced. It's not about making the perfect choice, but about making a choice that aligns with our current circumstances, enhancing our sense of well-being and adding depth to our everyday experiences.